Hello, everyone. It's Hump Day. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. And as always, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. I am Salad Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. Welcome, Juju. All right, so let's get started today. Okay, today I want to talk about, or today's topic is it selfish to live for yourself before your family? Should you put yourself, or should you put your family before yourself? Should you live for your family? Do you give up part of themselves when they put their families first? This is an interesting topic, and this is a topic that I first really got into probably about 15 years ago when Oprah had a guest on her show who had written an article. I do believe it was for the New York Times. And again, this was 15 years ago, so my memory may be a little off, whatever. But the author got a lot of flack because she said that she put herself before her family. And a lot of the pushback that she received was from women, which, kind of surprised me. But then again, it doesn't. Um, you know, when you put yourself first, is it being selfish, or should you be selfless and put your family first? And even if we're not talking about your family, if you're talking about your friends, or whatever, um, should you put yourself first? And you know, um, there's an author by the name of Brene Brown who says that it's impossible to love anyone more than you love yourself. And I would tend to disagree with that because there are people out there who don't love themselves. They may not have, they lack confidence, or whatever. They just don't love themselves. But for the people that you know, do you have to look at your needs first before you look at the needs of others? You know, you have women who are in the workforce, and they put their children in childcare, or if they're not in childcare, and their children are of school age where they can, go to school from 9 to 4, or whatever time school starts now. Um, are they being selfish because they choose to work? Or are the stay-at-home moms the ones that, are the heroes because they're at home, they're nurturing their child, whatever. Those are things that you think about. So again, once again, for those of you that just came on, hello Crucible Man and hello Shy Lady. When I saw this episode of Oprah about 15 years ago, the writer of the article, I mean, even when Oprah was taking questions from the audience, mostly women. Now, Oprah's, her audience was comprised mostly of women, and they were really giving her pushback because they thought that she was being selfish because she came out and said, I put myself first before my family. And I have to, give it to her. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, because if you don't put yourself first, what are you going to have left for your family? You know, um, you know, if you put yourself first, there have been studies where, if you put yourself first, and I'm not saying that, I'm going on vacation and, screw you. I'm leaving. If there's no food in the refrigerator, so too bad. That's not what I'm talking about. But if studies have shown that people who put themselves first before anything else, they are happier, they're more productive, and they're able to give more to others. So, having said that, does anyone want to, disagree with me, agree with me, you know, have your own opinion? Um, is it being selfish, or should you always be selfless? Because for women, and mainly for women, because men may say, well, my wife doesn't have to work. Well, unfortunately, these days you are in a, two job household in order to make ends meet for millions of people. But, men tend to have this notion that I go to work, I'm paying the bills, I should be able to come home and relax. But when you look at women, mothers, you know, yeah, you may go to work, but so do I. And I'm helping paying the bills. And even if I don't work, even if I am a stay-at-home mom, all the stuff that I have to do, during the day just to keep this household running, that's a full-time job. And that's something that I don't think, and I don't mean to lump all men in the same pot, but a lot of men, I believe, these are my thoughts, they don't get it. Whenever you're home and your child wants something, or they need something, or they just want to say something, usually the first person they're calling is their mother. They're not calling their father. I mean, and I only have one child, and my son would call me. I'm like, am I the only adult? Or am I the only parent in this household? There is another one. So at what point, you know, should you be selfish, or just um wanting to do things for yourself before your family? Because if a mom waits until all of her children are out of the house, or they've graduated from school, how old are they going to be? So is it okay for a parent to say, you know what, I'm taking off for this weekend. I'm going to hang out, with my girls at, wherever, and I'm going to San Diego, or wherever you are. You know, your father is in charge. Is that wrong? But yet you have men who go off on their fishing trips, or they go out to play poker, or whatever, and it's not a big deal. Um, but and I don't mean to make this about women versus men, but it just seems like that in terms of putting your family first, women, to me, would tend to get criticized more than men. Now, I grew up in a household where my mother was very independent, extremely so. And she basically, did what she wanted to wanted to do. I mean, she did go off on weekend trips, sometimes with her friends, and sometimes by herself. Um, and it was an accepted thing. And my sister and I, we grew up with both parents telling us, make sure you're independent. Don't lose, your independence. Hello, crazy lady. So, you know, what do you think? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with putting yourself first before your family if it's done in a positive way. Like I said, you're not leaving your family because you're running off with some man or some woman or something like that. You're doing it because you just want time to take care of yourself. Okay, I'm done. Does anyone want to say anything? Anybody? Anybody? Shy Lady says she totally agrees with me. Well, thank you. And of course, Crucible Man wants to say something. So, what do you have to say?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I think in this case, it's like just about everything in life. You've got to have some kind of balance, and I'm going to kind of come at this from my own personal experience and my own personal lifestyle because that's all I know, as opposed to my siblings and my friends who are married and have families. Certainly under the circumstances that you're describing, you've got two working spouses, you've got kids. The men, I don't think it's men bashing to point out that they frequently drop the ball when it comes to some of the domestic stuff. They figure they've put in their 40 hours or their 8 hours, and they come home, and the domestic stuff is the woman's responsibility. So women would lose their minds if they continued to put their families first all of the time, and putting their husbands first as well, because sometimes husbands, let's face it, can act like children. So I think you'd have to lose your sanity at some point if you didn't make a priority of taking care of yourself, getting away for a weekend, locking the bathroom door and sitting in the bathtub for 2 hours if you can get away with it. But as somebody who is later in life now. I'm in my 60s. I've never been married. I've had a number of long-term relationships, but I've never had any kids. And what I've noticed now is the fulfilling part of life, the part of life that gives you a sense of purpose and some sense of value, it comes from taking care of other people. And not 100% of the time, obviously, because I just alluded to why it's important for women, particularly, to take breaks. But without people in your life to take care of or to look out for or to be responsible for, it can be a bit of an empty existence. So I think you need both in your life, but I think to to ignore the fact that we are social people, and we have maternal and paternal instincts. We want to raise children. We want to help people. We want to be selfless. And I think if you had a choice between being selfish and selfless, I would choose selfless, because I think more comes back to you and you create a better sense of your value in the universe if you're prioritizing others a good chunk of the time.
Okay, I agree with you on some points, but I disagree with you on the part where you're saying that taking care of other people gives you full fulfillment. I disagree with that. I believe that that you can be single and go through your life without being married or having children, and being fulfilled. I think that you know now that goes into another topic about what is fulfillment, but um, I think that it is possible that you can um, live your life without necessarily having that family. Yes, we are social people. Yes, we are, you know, a group of people who want to socialize and what have you. But I don't think that we are people who necessarily need to take care of other people. You know, I think it's where you're able to find fulfillment. And fulfillment, if you look to other people in order to be fulfilled, and this is just my opinion, I think you're kind of missing out. I think that you're not a person who's able to do things on their own, or find happiness, and that's another show that I'm going to do on happiness. But I don't know, I just disagree with the part of the wanting to help others, and having choose between selfless or selfish, I would choose selfish. And that may make me sound selfish, but I would choose selfish. Because I do want to be fulfilled. I want to make myself happy. And if you're not happy and if you don't feel fulfilled, how is that going to translate when you are around your family, when you are around your friends and stuff? Are you going to be, uh, um, depressed? You know, I have a friend who, all she does is live for her family, and she complains so much, and she's so incredibly unhappy. She openly just says, "My family just takes up so much of my time. I never have time for me." And I said, "Well, why don't you go and take the weekend and go do?" "Oh, no, 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 no. I could never do that. My family would fall apart without me." So think about that. Your family's going to fall apart if you go somewhere for the weekend for 2 days. Your family's going to fall apart. I mean, is the house going to blow up? I mean, technically it could, but what is really going to happen? Or is it the fact that you've conditioned them so much to rely on you that you're afraid to step away? So, anybody want to answer what I just said, or take up what Crucible Man said? Shy lady.
Hey, I just wanted
Hello.
to add to your point. I believe that your friend has definitely conditioned herself to feel a need that her family can't function without her. It's really sad and unfortunate, but some people are like that. I have people in my own family who think that if they were to be gone for an extended period of time, that their basically adult children would not be able to function without them, and that's clearly an issue internally with that person who feels that way. I believe. I think that's an internal issue. Maybe a person that wants to feel like it makes them feel good. They, unconsciously, it may or subconsciously, where they may feel to them that makes them feel good, that they're needed or wanted. That's,
Okay, Shy lady. So let me ask you in terms of what Crucible Man said in about being selfless and wanting to, that as humans, we want to help people. So what do you think about that?
I think as humans, we do want to be selfless and help people. I do believe that because we want to feel like we matter, and we want to feel like we're doing things to help people, particularly a family member, and that makes us feel that we're doing what we're called to do, so to speak. So I think that as I gotten older, I used to be kind of in that thinking mode when my kids were younger, that they couldn't function without me. But really, you need to allow people to grow and to also discover who they are so
Mhm.
that they're not so dependent on you.
I agree with that, because if you don't cut the cord at some point, they're always going to be hanging on. So
Exactly.
all right, so let me put this out here for anybody who wants to answer this one. So when you have someone like let's compare a Mother Teresa, who she was a nun, she wasn't married, but she spent the majority of her life helping other people. Okay, and I'm pretty sure she was happy with that. She can say it was a calling from God, whatever, but that's what Mother Teresa did. Then I'm going to bring Oprah back in into the mix. You have someone who, yes, she has a $1 billion and she's a billionaire and what have you, but she's never been married. She doesn't have any children. Yes, she's been in a relationship, whatever that relationship may be. But do you see her? I'm trying to make a point here with Mother Teresa and Oprah. Do you see Oprah as someone who is being selfish or selfless? Because she does help people. I mean, she, whatever. But again, is her life less fulfilled because she didn't get married? Was Mother Teresa's life less fulfilled because she wasn't married, or was Mother Teresa's life more fulfilled than, say, in Oprah, because of the work that Mother Teresa did? And maybe it's unfair to compare the two of them because they're two totally different people. But I was just trying to compare one situation, one drastic situation here, to something that's completely different. Did I lose anybody on that one? Anybody want to answer that one, Crucible Man? Okay.
Yeah, I think, it doesn't have to just be your immediate family. Just because I or Oprah or whomever else didn't get married and didn't have kids, Mother Teresa is a good example. You can do good work through other endeavors that don't include having a family. It's a little more challenging. Somebody like Oprah certainly has the financial wherewithal to help. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Everybody she wants to. So it depends on your lot in life as far as what you're capable of doing. But it doesn't have to be your family. It just has to be, I think, all are having the same thing all the time. If you're just consumed with your kids and your family, like that friend of yours, or if you're always by yourself and you're not really working through other people on somebody else's behalf, it can be a bit of a empty existence. I'm just speaking from experience, and I'm not trying to make it all about me, but I can see where a woman like your friend, who does nothing but put her family first, would feel like she maybe is going a little bit stir crazy, even though she doesn't want to take the time to take a couple of days off or something. She feels probably like the walls are closing in on her, and I feel just the opposite. So having children is the most natural outlet for taking care of people and putting others first. But it can take other forms. Like I said, Mother Teresa is a good example of somebody who did just that.
Okay, so Crucible Man, I'm going to ask you. You did say that you're single. You've never been married, and if it gets lonely, then whose fault is that? Is that yours because you haven't made an effort? And I don't know if you have or haven't. I'm just asking a question here. Um, you know, you know, do other people need to make you happy? Do you have to be involved with other people? Can people who are single and do not have an immediate family, when I say immediate family, I mean husband, wife, children, whatever, you can do other things that can make you happy, even if it means that you have a hobby, or you do whatever, you go sailing every week or whatever, you have some other outlet to fulfill you, other than saying that I must help people, that in order to be fulfilled you have to help people. Did I lose you there?
No, it's 100%, in my court. I'm not pointing fingers or anything or saying, hey, society did me wrong or I got the short end of something. I had multiple opportunities to get married and have children. I made a conscious choice that I didn't think I was cut out for it. So I was sort of anticipating later in life, just from a practical standpoint, how things would unfold without a wife and without, without kids. But yeah, the responsibility for taking care of your own life and making it fulfilling and giving it a sense of purpose is 100% the responsibility of the person whose life it is. So if you're unhappy with your life, and I'm not saying I am unhappy with my life, there are days that are better than others, but I don't think I'm any different from most people. So I just think, I think you have to own your own life. Let me just put it that way. And I do own my own life. I own it, warts and all. And I have gotten, tried to to do some different things that are not necessarily in line with my personality that in years past I probably wouldn't have bothered with, because I understand that it's going to be very challenging going forward, as people get older and people pass away and your friendships fragment. It isn't easy as you get older to have a good social life. So I've tried already to do some different things just over the past several months that have helped. And it's something that I have to be mindful of because it doesn't come naturally. I don't have a built-in family, or other people that I can look out for. So you have to make the effort, because no one is going to do it for you, and I have certainly found that out over time.
Okay. All right. So you bring up some points. So at the same time, you could have family who you don't want to be around. You could have family, that when you're around them, is constant arguing or fighting, and you just remove yourself from that situation, or even friends and what have you. You may not want to be around them. But let me ask this. What about those people who, you know, take off on their own? They put their backpack on and they go, live, up in the mountains for a year. Or, you're reading more and more stories where people, didn't even know a pandemic was going on because they disconnected from everything, and they just, were on a boat in the middle of the ocean for the last, year and a half, whatever. Would you say that those are fulfilled people, that those are people who, you know um whether they had family or friends that they left behind? I'm pretty sure they may not necessarily family, but I'm pretty sure they knew somebody that they left behind, but they cut themselves off, because they just wanted to, go off by themselves. Would you say that those people are fulfilled? Or do you think that they should have, if they did have a family, or whatever, they should have stayed home? I mean, what do you think? Anybody want to take that one?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I would have to say they probably are fulfilled, because you wouldn't make a conscious decision to do something that extreme if it wasn't giving you some sense of contentment or some sense of happiness. I don't understand it. Like I said, I live by myself, and there's days where you just crave human contact. So I can't relate to doing that, but I'm assuming if they did it, willfully of their own free will, that there is a measure of fulfillment in it. It wouldn't be what I pick. It might not be what you pick, but if that's what their choice is, then I'm assuming there's a level of at least some fulfillment there.
Okay. So again, coming back to the, selfish or selfless, um, people prioritize their life in a couple of ways: family, their community, health, and work. But they rarely say me or myself, family, dot, dot, dot. Um, do you think that when people, when you just hear someone say, I'm putting myself first, I'm putting myself before my family, it seems like that, it's automatically, um, people are going to criticize you, and it's usually the woman that gets criticized. So I would like to ask, if a man said that they wanted to put themselves first before their family, do you think it would be a double standard where it would be more acceptable for a man to do it instead of a woman? Anyone want to take that one? Anybody?
I can jump in.
Yeah, I'm saying anybody, so yeah, jump in.
Um, yeah, I don't want to stereotype too much, but I think, I miss the show on stereotypes, unfortunately, but it's hard not to, because you kind of witness the same behavior from a group of people or persons over a period of time, and it reinforces your perceptions and your opinions about them. And I think men in the household, are a good example. I think a lot of it goes way, way back to the days when women didn't work, and I shouldn't say didn't work outside the house. And you settled into these very, very traditional roles where the man went to work, and once he came home, everything in the kitchen, in the laundry room, places like that, that was the woman's domain. So men already kind of put themselves first just by virtue of the kind of the family unit and the structure and the traditionally defined responsibilities. So do I think it's a double standard? Yeah, of course it's a double standard, especially in 2021, where you do have two spouses working outside the home. And where is it written that it's still the woman's responsibility as it was 50 years ago when she didn't work outside the home? Where is it written that her time is less valuable than yours? So yeah, anytime you're asking somebody to do something that you yourself wouldn't do or don't think you have to do, I think that qualifies as a double standard in my world.
Okay, so let me go back to looking after yourself first. You can still be a kind and caring person, but you just put yourself first. So, does anyone believe that putting yourself first does make you um, happier, or it makes you more productive to other people? If you're happy, if you're okay with you, because if you wake up every morning, if you're a mother or father, whatever. But again, I'm coming back to women. If you wake up every morning and you're just oh my god, I gotta fix breakfast for the kids. I gotta take them to school, and some of them, if you have children who are spaced out, you may be doing drop offs at multiple schools. You have to do that. I gotta feed the dog or whatever. It's like, are you dreading getting up every day to take care of these people that you're supposed to love? And you do love them, but will it get to a point where you resent them because you feel that they either may not appreciate you, or just I'm just tired. I'm tired of doing this. I want time for me, but you're afraid to say it. Will it get to the point where you start to resent your family, or even your friends, or even when you go to work? The US is one of the countries that has the worst work ethics when it comes to time off. That even when you have that vacation time, and you're afraid to ask your boss for vacation because you have all this work to do. We always bring our work home. I know people who have jobs where, this, their cell phone, or at the time their what do you call it? What do people have? Their beeper or whatever was like constantly on, because your boss could call you at 10 o'clock at night and you had to do it. What happened to leaving the job at the job? Will you get to the point that you're not putting yourself first? You're not asking for that time off. You're not asking for that vacation time, because your boss may get angry, or there's this project, that you have to do. Meanwhile, you've accumulated all this time that you can't use. Instead, you dip into your sick time. So when you really get sick, you've used it all up on your vacation time, because you don't want to ask your boss, or tell them that you want some time off. And America has the worst you know work ethics in terms of how we treat people who work for us. We don't want them to take time off. And when you look at what's going on today in the job market, where it was assumed that, hey, if we cut off these people's, checks or whatever, they're going to go back to work. Well, the opposite has happened. They're like, okay, you're not going to give us any money. I'm still not going back to that job because that job wore me out. It's time for me to look after me. I'm not going to go back to that job, whatever. I'm not going to, or I'm not going to, when they have, some of these restaurants and, some of these warehouse places, like Amazon or what have you, even though Amazon made $1 billion, last year, they still need workers, but they're not going back. These people are not going back to work. So if they have a family and they're not working, is that being selfish because they still have to put food on the table, or are they looking after their well-being because that job just made them crazy?
I want to say that, excuse me, I think sometimes, in a lot of cases, jobs can take people to that level. And unfortunately, it can be devastating on the family, because I can vouch from personal experience. And I know my husband had a job that was very, very stressful, and it was a very well paying job. And the boss was calling at 10 o'clock at night. I remember us going to Disney World on vacation. We had like a 5 day 5 day pass or something where we were in the hotel for about 5 or 6 days, and my husband didn't go to any of the parks with us because he had to um, be basically tied to his laptop the whole time. And it got to a point where mentally it was overwhelming for him. And he said, you know what? I think that it would be best for me to leave because I don't think mentally I can handle it anymore. And it was devastating. It was a devastating experience. And it's only through God's favor, mercy, and grace that he was able to find something else after a period of time. And we had to use a lot of savings. At the time, I was a stay-at-home mom, so I can relate to that issue as well with kids. I had 3 kids, and um, some of them were at different schools. So it was dropping. I had at one time I had one in high school, one in middle school, and one in elementary school, and that was overwhelming. And so I can definitely relate to that issue with people like today. I read that there's several million people. I think it might be a million, but there's several people in America who have just said, you know what, I'm done with this. And it's true. Employers can definitely um, affect your health because I don't know the statistics, you may have it, but in America, it just doesn't seem to matter about work-life balance. I hear a lot of employers say that, but I worked for one recently that I left in April, and they were always talking about work-life balance, and it really was a joke because there was no work-life balance. There wasn't. They didn't care about your family life. They didn't care about your mental health. It was all about the company and the numbers, the stats, the what's the word that they used to always, the metrics. That's what it was all about. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I mean, Charlene, and you make a point because when you say work life balance, every job I have ever had, and there's two in particular. One was with the telecom company, and which we both worked at, and another one was with an insurance company. And every job that I have ever had, I never I never worked late. I never did. I mean, it was like the day ended at 5 o'clock, and at the uh, telecom com, company, I remember working in the finance department, and all this work would come in at the last minute, and our particular manager, she would get really upset because she would say, "Well, where are you going?" I'm like, "It's 5 o'clock. I'm going home. I'm on salary. I'm not getting paid by the hour. I'm on salary." And I would leave. And then other people in my department started doing the same thing, and she didn't like it, but there was nothing that she could do. And the same thing at the insurance company. I was paid by the hour, but all the stuff comes in at the last minute, or whatever. I'm going home, because one thing that I have learned is, if you start doing something, it becomes expected of you, and then it becomes your job. And I was not going to be one of those people who, I noticed at both companies, the ones that were staying late, working late, you know nobody cared. It was like they expected these people to stay, and then when all of a sudden, they wanted to go home, or there was an emergency, it was like, well, where are you going? So there, work life balance in America, you're right, there is none. There is none, and no one seems to care. But now, when you have restaurant chains who are literally pulling people from their front office, and you have some managers and directors and stuff who are now coming into the restaurant to flip burgers, or be that fry cook or whatever, or take orders, because they don't have enough people who are wanting a job. So what does that tell America? What does that say what we need to do? It wasn't all about people are just going to stay at home and get a check. Yeah, for some people maybe, but for a lot of people, they're reinventing themselves. They're saying, I don't need to do this. I can find something better. I don't have to be a, waiter at a restaurant where the pay is horrible. I get treated like crap, sometimes from my boss and from the customers. I don't need this. So, am I being selfish? Or am I looking out for me? Because if I am working somewhere and I'm so stressed out, or I go on vacation with my family, and my family's the one, you know, enjoying the park or going to all the activities, and I'm stuck in a hotel room on a laptop, there's a problem. And the fact that you are supposed to be on vacation, and your employer knows you're on vacation, and they're still going to call you, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So again, you know, Shy Lady, I think your husband was being selfless in terms of, to his job, you know, um, but at the same time, it's like it was hurting him. It was stressing him out. It was, putting stress on on the family. And Shy Lady says, I think COVID has shown many people that life is short. Yes, it has. Other people, they, they don't care about COVID, but I mean, I think COVID has not only shown people that life is short. I think that this time of COVID that we're in, I think that it has shown people that, when they were furloughed from their jobs, it may have been devastating at first, like, oh my God, the restaurant's closing down for a month or two, what am I going to do? But then I think people did sit back and say, you know what, I haven't worked at that job, and even though I may not have a paycheck coming in, i'm I have less stress, I'm happier. And I think that's what people have found. So again, putting yourself first, I really don't think there's anything wrong with it. Because if you, like I said, if you fall out and have a heart attack, or you drop dead, then nobody wins. So that family who feels that they can't do without you, guess what? Mom's gone, dad's gone. What are you going to do now? And on the news the other day, they were talking about how many children have been left behind because both of their caretakers passed away from COVID. So now you have a generation of children who are going to grow up without their parents, you know, because of a pandemic. So once again, people do need to learn how to be on their own, how to do things for themselves. And unfortunately, in some cases, some children have to learn that, earlier than others, and they have to learn it the hard way. But I have no problem with being selfish. So I will say, if you want to say I'm selfish, or I'm calling myself selfish or whatever, I am, because and I am happy. I like my life. I am happy. Are everything perfect within my life? Is everything perfect within my personal life? Whatever. No, it isn't. No one's life is perfect, but I've been able to do things, and manage things where I am happy. So, anybody want to comment or not comment, or anybody? Anybody?
Yeah, I think the first rule of thumb in life, I think, is self-preservation, and you got to take care of yourself first, or you're really not going to be much use to anybody else. It's kind of a simplistic example, but think about the flight attendants on a flight when they say, if you're sitting with a young child, put your mask on first and then help them. That's maybe not the best example, but you're not any good to anybody unless you're looking out for yourself, first and foremost. And given today's, I agree with the lack of work life balance. Companies love to talk about it, but they sure don't deliver very well. So you've got to take it upon yourself to look out for yourself, because you're certainly not going to get any help from your employer. Um, but also, when you think about the rise in mental health issues with people these days, whether it's increased or we're just hearing more about it now, it seems to be bordering on an epidemic. You can't turn your TV on without seeing one commercial after the next talking about mental health is health, and I agree with that. So if you're so worn down and you're so burnt out, you're working on weekends, you're working on vacation, some of that may not be able to be avoided temporarily. If your employer is one of those employers who says, "Look, I don't care, it's my way or the highway," you're going to have to, suck it up for the time being. But if you're not at some point pushing back, no one's going to push back for you.
Okay, Crucible Man. So I'm going to ask you: are you contradicting yourself now? Because before you said that you needed, to be selfless in order to take care of people. So,
Well, I guess I'm referring to situations where you reach a point where your either your physical health or your mental health is being compromised, and that way you're not going to be any good to anybody. You can't be selfless if you're burnt out, if you're in a bad mood, if you're always irritated or you're always tired. I'm not sure how, I don't care how selfless you are, you're not going to be a lot of good to people in that condition. So I don't think I'm contradicting myself. I think overall we all do better if we are taking care of somebody in our lives. But if it reaches the point where the tail is wagging the dog, so to speak, and the whole thing becomes inverted, then I think it's time. I think it's time for a change, because too many people wait too long. And I'm not saying that they're beyond help, but you suffer some serious mental health issues if you don't take a time out at some point. And like I said, your employer is not going to be the one looking out for you.
okay, all right, and that was a good analogy with the flight attendant on the airplane. So, if you If you've already fainted from the fumes and can't put your mask on, then everyone else is, I mean, or your child is going to faint too. So I mean, I don't know. I just think that you don't need to. It's not a necessity in life to be fulfilled or have a sense of fulfillment by helping other people. I do believe that you can find it other ways, and I think that there's just lots of examples out there where people have done so and are doing it. I'm not saying that you have to go to the extreme where you just leave society behind and go trekking off into the mountains or on the woods or wherever. But I don't believe that you need other people to um, to fulfill yourself. And I think that families who rely so much on one person, you know, um, I think it's wrong, and you have those families where a family member has passed away and they're asking, or even, if they're divorced or whatever, and you're asking the oldest sibling or siblings to step up and take care of the younger ones. Now, okay, should they have to? I don't think they should. I think it's very selfish of a parent to ask a child to take care of their younger siblings, um, especially if that younger sibling, and I do know that there are some siblings who have been put in a situation where they're 10, 11 years old and they're taking care of their younger ones. But I think it's especially selfish for a parent to ask that if that child is in high school, because even though high school can be a very depressing time, and high school is hard, it's still a time where you're finding out who you are. You're forming friendships that may last you, the rest of your life. You're really, getting into you as, yourself. And it may seem, you all may be thinking what I'm saying is wrong, but I don't believe that children should have to take care of other children. Do I think, well, can you, give her breakfast, today? Sure, I'll do it. Can you comb her hair? Can you help him put his shoes on? That stuff, not a problem. But when a parent is literally turning that oldest child or the oldest children into parents, and then they don't have a life of their own because they're so busy taking care of these younger ones, and then all of a sudden, the older ones are, you know 20, 21, 22, 23 years old, and they've missed out on so much, whereas their younger ones are able to get what they missed out on. I don't think a parent should ask a child to do that. So, anyone think I'm right, wrong? Anybody? Anybody?
No, I think you make a good point. I think that it's very easy for parents to cross the line and put unfair burdens on their children. The children have no voice. Their parents are supposed to be their voice. And so if their parents are part of the problem, the child doesn't have any recourse. You're not going to go to the other parent and probably get a different answer. So you are a bit backed into a corner there, and I do think it's unfair, and I do think you end up creating resentment. But on the other hand, if that's what the practical situation calls for, let's just say this is a single mother and there are 5 or 6 kids in the house and she's got a part-time job, and sometimes circumstances are such that you're just not able to avoid it. Now, if it goes on for years at a time, then that's a different story. But I think that a lot of single mother households probably have to resort or revert to that very situation because it's kind of all hands on deck. Is it fair? Of course not. But from a practical standpoint, you probably the woman, the mother probably can't afford live in help. Maybe her family lives too far away. I'm not making excuses for that kind of behavior, but I think it's always unfortunate if it has to happen that way. But sometimes, it can't be avoided.
I want to say, I know the show's about to end, but what Crucible Man saying, I can definitely relate to because I had a friend in college who was she was the I think the third oldest. She had second oldest. She had a older brother, and then she had two younger siblings. The last sibling I think was one of those pregnancies where the mom and dad might have thought that they weren't going to have any more children because there's a like a 12-year age gap between the youngest, and then there's like I think a 13 to 14-year age difference between my friend and her sibling. And what happened is, I remember her telling me that she was resentful that when she was in high school, she did a lot of babysitting because her mom worked and her dad worked, and she was often left at home to watch her younger sibling, her sister. And there, like I said, there was a like a 12 year, 13-year difference in the age. And then I think a few years after she was in high school, we were in college, um, her father had passed away. So she had been taking care of her younger sister since she was a child. And I really felt bad for her because she was, saying that she always had to babysit. And unfortunately, it was a reality. It was a reality for her. She spent a lot of her younger years taking care of her sister. Of course, when she went away to college, she wasn't there. But mostly during her probably her junior high days and high school, she did a lot of babysitting because both parents worked, and that really was unfair.
So, Charlene, let me ask you: is she over time develop a resentment to her younger sister?
No, she didn't. She didn't
Okay,
really.
that's good.
It was more of a resentment toward the mother who put her in that position. She adored her sister, but a lot of times she did get on her nerves. But I just remember I felt bad for her that she had to be in that situation because she complained a lot. She's like, I always had to take care of her. I never got a chance to really experience going out in high school because I always had to babysit.
Okay. Okay. And that's what I mean, when I say I think that it's unfair for parents to put older children in that situation because I mean, did your friend get a chance to like, go to prom or anything like that?
I'm not sure she went to prom or not. She might have gone to prom. I
Okay.
can't remember, but like I said, I met her in college, and I remember, we became friends, and I met her family, her mom and her sister, and there was a big age gap, 13, I think 13-year age gap between them.
Okay. And was she one of those sisters who, as she got older, if she wanted to go somewhere, her parents would say, take your sister with you?
No, I don't recall. I don't recall that she had issues like that because we would go hang out in college. We were young, 21, 22, whatever. And she would, go out sometimes when we come home for breaks or whatever. But now, for the most part, like I said, I remember her mainly complaining about how it was when she lived at home, how bad it was. When she went to college, of course, she um, didn't have to experience that. But when she was in high school, it was bad.
Okay. All right. That's interesting because I again go back to my childhood, which I mean, it wasn't perfect, but in terms of the independent thing, it was like, we were encouraged to be independent, even though my sister and I are 2.5 years apart, with my sister being the oldest. Um, it was never, even if I wanted to go somewhere with my sister, which was very rare, it was always you are not going, you are staying home. Those are her friends. You have your friends, you know, you know, don't run after her, whatever. And if there was a time when my, and again, we were only 2.5 years apart. So I never had a situation, where my sister was taking care of me per se. But if it was a situation where my parents would, go somewhere, out together, or they were both at work, and if my sister had something to do, you know, um, I was sent down to my neighbor's house. It wasn't where, my sister was going to have to stay home or whatever. It was like, you're going to the neighbor's house, whatever. So I don't know. I've always, and this may seem crazy to use this word, but I've always been fascinated with people who either have large families or where there's that big gap. Because, and to hear people say that they had to, take care of their sibling. My husband and his brother, they're 11 years apart. Exactly, their birthdays are both on October 31st. And, my husband would tell me how, after his mom remarried and his younger brother he came along, that it was always, take your brother with you, take your brother with you. And he would get upset with that. He always had to have his little brother with him. And, I don't know. I mean, I understand what Crucible Man says, that it's necessity, at some point, but I don't think that you should always be made to take your sibling along with you, so I don't know. So does anyone have any other departing words before we go? Crucible Man, did you have anything you wanted to throw in at the last moment?
Surprisingly, no.
All right, Miss Shy Lady, do you have anything you want to throw in? And Shy Lady said, okay, I'm assuming Shy Lady is saying no. And Juju, I know you're listening. I know you're listening. Shy Lady says no. I know you're listening while you are enjoying that pool. Okay, so all right, everyone. This was a good talk. I enjoyed it. So again, you guys, thank you so much for your input, and I appreciate you guys participating. Juju, I appreciate you listening, my silent friend. And you guys always speak your truth. I'm Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. And we didn't go. Oh well, I started 3 minutes late today, so we're right on the 1 hour. We're right on the 1 hour. Bye, Shy Lady, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye, Crucible Man. Juju, don't let your phone or laptop fall into the pool. Better have Apple Care. Bye, Shy Lady. Bye, Juju. I think Jujus were also candy back in the day. Love you too. Crucible Man didn't have anything to say at the end. Wow. Surprise, surprise. Are you able to mute your mic on your own now? Oh, Crucible Man is gone. Okay. Oh, and Juju, try out the suggestion that I gave. Enjoy your day, everyone. Bye.